Hello and welcome to Sincerely Elvis Presley. I'm Sean. Whether you're new to the channel or a regular viewer, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. We've arrived at part 3 of my Elvis vinyl collection on a budget, original UK albums, 1956 through to 1981. So I think we better crack on because there's still quite a lot to get through. So we finished last time with, I think we were at Elvis Now, 1972. So we're in 1972, and the first one we have is He Touched Me, double laminate cover. Orange label. Next up, as recorded at Madison Square Garden, really nice copy. Another shiny orange label. Into Camden territory. So this is Elvis sings hits from his movies plus 2 recent hits. And green, turquoise Camden, and yet again the theme continues, and sleeves don't want to go in. Next up, the follow-up to that, Burning Love and hits from his movies. It doesn't actually say volume 2 on the UK one. I believe the US one did. This is the one with a pay no more than 99 pence sticker. And we should see an international label on this one. I was actually going to say a Camden label, but no, this is international. Burning Love. Next up, of course, Aloha from Hawaii. UK original with original flyer. It's a song sheet with some albums being plugged underneath, and it's obviously orange RCA. Then we have one of my absolute faves of the Camdens, Separate Ways. And what kind of Camden label do we got? Now this is interesting. Someone needs to let me know, please, in the comments whether what I've got here, because this is how I bought this. So it's got this label on, says that it was 50 pence from J.W. Smalley, but I don't recall. Certainly the Camdens that I had never had an inner sleeve quite like that. So I think someone's put I don't know why they've done it, but someone's put a later inner sleeve, which is quite nice. You know, it's not nice to have the Elvis branded inner sleeve, but I'm not entirely sure that the Camdens came with that. I mean, quite often the Camdens didn't even come with inner sleeves, and it's possible, I guess, that this was one that didn't have an inner sleeve, and somebody has decided to rectify that and put a later sleeve in it. Talking of Separate Ways, I've also, this is the only, I haven't shown many US pressings because this is all about UK pressings, but I did manage to pick up this, which is a Pickwick US press, still factory sealed. I have very, very few. Harold, I know you'll have the jitters at this because I know virtually everything you've got's factory sealed. I have very few Elvis items of any sort that are still factory sealed. I open them straight away. But this one, because it's an original Pickwick US press and it's survived all this time in a factory seal, it's going to stay that way in my collection. Next up we have Elvis, the full album. Now this is one of those that it's the sleeves printed in England, but I believe the Dynaflex pressing is a Canadian pressing, which I think was quite common. I think it's very rare to get a UK sleeve and a UK press. This is one of the very few titles in the actual collection that I don't have a UK press of, Raised on Rock. This is a US press, still in its shrink. But when I picked this one up, it was fairly cheap, and this was when I was sort of on a mission to collect them all. And having got this one, I thought, well, what am I going to gain by having the UK copy, really? Because there's not going to be a lot of difference. So I think I'll probably just stick with the US press there. Then we've got Legendary Performer Volume 1, and this one's a US as well, because it's got the textured sleeve. But again, there didn't really seem a lot of point going out of my way to get the UK press. I didn't really think I'd be gaining a tremendous amount with that. Good Times, brilliant album. Oh, that's I'm quite surprised, actually. I didn't realise that was a later black label. Yeah, surprised on camera. I didn't see that one coming. I thought that was going to be an orange label. But again, will I be bothered to get? Probably not. I probably won't, unless I see it super cheap. Recorded live on stage in Memphis. And by now, of course, really from, I think, from He Touched Me onwards, you didn't see the UK sleeves laminated anymore. They stopped that. So you just get your kind of plain matte sleeves. The classic that is Elvis 40 Greatest Hits. This is one of the slightly, you see that, interesting. Now you see, I pulled all these out and thought, right, I'll share all these, and now I'm doing it. I'm sort of seeing things. So I think those inner sleeves look suspiciously like the inner sleeve that's on that Separate Ways, because these are the later arcade pressings, because they're yellow. I know the early arcade pressings were light blue. But yeah, these definitely look like that inner sleeve that's on Separate Ways. So that's interesting. That's not going to go back, is it? Right. I do have the later pink vinyl press of 40 Greatest that RCA put out after Arcade had. So, you know, this comes with, you've got your pink vinyl and the flyer that came with it. There's a theme here, you know. I do find vinyl to be quite awkward to deal with, you know, trying to get things in and out. That's the flyer that came with that one. But yeah, it can be quite challenging, can vinyl. So, hits of the 70s. Having just said that by this stage there were no more laminates, we get a laminate, so clearly they were. And this is in fact a double laminate. So, there's your hits of the 70s. And to just make me look even more incorrect, we've got Promised Land on a double laminate. So, clearly they hadn't got rid of laminate. It's a bit hit and miss though. I don't think I've ever seen things like Good Times on with a laminate sleeve. No, not that I recall. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong there as well. So, back to Camden. Easy Come, Easy Go. And is this an original or a later Camden? Not an original sleeve. That's a later Camden. This was one of the 3 that I got for £10 and sort of set me down this road about 10 months ago. Having Fun with Elvis on Stage. Genius album. Not. The US Mail. Brilliant Slice of Camden. That's a later Camden label as well. There we go, look, Elvis Today. We're back to a matte cover on this, and I don't recall ever having seen this with a gloss cover. What a fantastic album. And 50 years old this year. Orange label. And we've got the 2 Star Call albums. So we've got the Sun Collection. This dark green label. And Pictures of Elvis. Again, on the dark green label. We now have A Legendary Performer Volume 2. And this one is a UK one, I think. Yep. So we should just see the orange label on that particular one. And is it going to go back in? Yes, it is. From Elvis Presley Boulevard, Memphis, Tennessee, with the misleading recorded live legend. Orange. Elvis in Demand. Orange label. Some of these were really cheap. Some of these were really cheap indeed. Welcome to My World. Just notice actually the light seems to be fluctuating a lot on the camera. It's very dark here today, so I apologise if it looks like there's something. I think what it is when the camera focuses in, it lightens it up, and then when I move it back it darkens it off. So apologies if it's making your eyes go a bit funny. Moody Blue. Elvis in Concert. Orange label. And then we got some of the posthumous releases that I had originally. So He Walks Beside Me, Sacred album, compilation. It's on an orange label. Then we had these 2 beauties that at the time for me were an absolute revelation, because originally in my collection I didn't have the debut album and I didn't have Rock and Roll Number 2. So although I had spatterings of the 50s material across compilations and what have you, actually hearing all the 50s material together in one place was just mind-blowing to me. So 56 Sessions Volume 1, this was 1978 that this came out in the UK, and you know, this just blew me away, absolutely blew me away. So what label, are we going to see the blue? Are we going to see the blue? Yes, we are going to see the blue. The blue sort of, as I like to think of it in my head, the posthumous label, because that's when we started seeing that blue. I'm pretty sure it only came out on posthumous releases. Yeah, it did. Was it on Elvis in Concert? I can't remember. We just had a look at that. I think that was orange, wasn't it? Was that orange? It was. Yeah. So yeah, I wonder what the decision making process was that when Elvis had passed, they decided it was time for a new label. And obviously they took the logo from the label from the earlier release of He Walks Beside Welcome to My World. So you can see that that's exactly the same logo that they've used there. So yeah, I wonder what the thinking was there, that as Elvis had passed, let's bring it in a whole new label. I suppose it was dedicating a label solely to him, wasn't it? Because you've got that big Elvis logo. Whereas before, the orange labels, or any of the labels that preceded that, any artist would have had. So this was maybe that nod towards how important Elvis truly was, and how they recognised that by giving him his own label. That would be my guesswork on that. So anyway, 56 Sessions Volume 1, absolutely brilliant. And it wasn't followed directly, but I've got them directly in order here, with Volume 2. And again, absolutely blew me away. What's it say here? The tragic death of Elvis R. Presley occurred on August 16, 1977, long after the idea for these releases had been conceived. It is possible that other recordings may come to light, but these constitute all his filed RCA material for 1956, and certainly all that emerged during his lifetime. So again, this was 78, but yeah, absolutely brilliant. Absolutely loved it. These just amazed me at the time. Then we've got this this kind of strange release, which, to be honest, I never bought at the time. I was probably a bit sniffy over it, but it's kind of a fantasy concert, if you like. They've put together performances across various Elvis live recordings, and kind of put together what they believe is the ultimate performance. So it's okay. We got, oh, this is K-Tel, isn't it? So yeah, K-Tel Records. Now, when this came out, this is a Legendary Performer Volume 3. Now, this isn't the UK version, because this is the picture disc, and the picture disc was a US release. But the picture disc that I got, and I think I got it for Christmas in 1978, if I remember rightly. So the picture disc that I got was this version, and this is the one that has the black rim. Now, to me, when I sort of was going to pick this up again, the vast majority out there seem to be the ones with the blue rim, which I think are earlier pressings. But to me, they look odd. You look at that disc and that black photograph, and when you see it with a blue rim, I think it looks a bit weird. I think it looks far, far better with the black rim. So this seems to be harder to get hold of. There are less ones with the black rim out there from my experience than the blue rim. So I sort of held out until I could get the version that I had at the time. So Legendary Performer Volume 3, not the UK one, because at the time I had the US one. Now, Our Memories of Elvis Volume 1 and 2, these were releases that I didn't have at the time, but following on, because I decided to try and get all those UK releases going from 56 onwards, I had to get these. So, and it's been nice to hear them, because I never heard them at the time. I'm not entirely sure. W.H. Smith. I'm not entirely sure why I didn't get these. I think probably that cover put me off at the time. I probably thought I don't want a record with the Colonel on the cover. Can't remember, but it could have been something like that. I mean, I was 1981, 14, 15. So who knows how my mind worked then. I mean, I barely know these days. So yeah, we've got Volume 2. And this should have the same blue label. Then we've got Love Songs. I remember this being heavily advertised at the time in 1979. In fact, I clearly remember we used to get the Woolworths catalogue, and it would be looking through that to see what we wanted for Christmas. And I clearly remember this in there. And I can clearly remember, even that age thinking, that's not a very good cover. I mean, he doesn't look very good, does he? I mean, you've taken an image and what have you done to it? Not great. But what have we got here? That's not an original inner sleeve, or is it? Is this a K-Tel as well? I think it is, yes, it is. So there's your love songs. The least said about this release, the better. I got it for the sake of completism. I don't like the Guitar Man album, sorry, but I don't like it. I just think it's plodding. I don't like it. I know what they were trying to do, but they shouldn't. Purely got this for completism and the fact that it's a great cover, but that will never go on the turntable, I'm afraid. Not for me. And last but not least, as we're only going up to the vinyl that I had in my sort of original Elvis collection back in the day. So this is Elvis. I don't think this is a UK press. I think this one's a German press, but I don't think I'd gain a particular amount by searching out the UK press. Not going to be a tremendous amount of difference. So that's where we kind of wind this one up in 1981, if I'm not mistaken, 1983. I'm sure This Is Elvis was earlier than that. Maybe I'm remembering that wrong. You see, the old mind is not what it was. So yeah, so there we go. You know, across 3 episodes, I wanted to kind of share the original UK albums, or close to them as I got for that period. As I said at the beginning, there are modern versions where they're available of most of them. They go considerably past them up to current day. You know, once you start down this road, it's not an easy road to jump off. So there is a lot more that I'm looking at in the racks there, and maybe for some reason, if there's any interest at all, I might one day revisit and bring out some of the more modern stuff. But I just wanted to sort of, provide an update really to that first video I did of collecting Elvis on a budget, because it is possible. If you set yourself those rules, if you make sure that you don't compromise and go for poor quality copies that are being overcharged for. There are plenty of poor quality copies out there. I mean, fair enough, if you pick them up cheap enough and you just want to add them to the collection, you totally get that. But there are a lot of people that like to rip people off, so you do have to be a little bit careful. But it's completely possible to build up a nice little connection, sticking to that, and it's just enjoyable almost to set yourself that limit and say, no, I'm only going to pay that for it, but I want a decent copy. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. Hopefully that was enjoyable. As ever, please do all the good stuff, like, share, comment, subscribe. Helps the channel and I appreciate it. So next week we'll move on to something different entirely, but until then, have a great week, take care, ta-da.
We'll meet you again. May God bless you. Adios.